don't think so. They want it. They want to meet and they want to have that ceasefire. So I don't think so. Steve, could you respond to this? You know about it?
Well, I think it's terribly unfortunate. Terribly unfortunate. We were just talking about it, how tragic it is, but we have an opportunity to finally get a peace deal, Mr. Prime Minister, as we discussed, and I'm hopeful for it very quickly.
Mr. President, are the tariff letters that you sent today final offers, or are they negotiable?
More or less final offer.
So South Korea, Japan should take it or leave it?
We're always subject to negotiate something that's fair, but we've talked to most of the countries, and pretty much they've had their way for many, many decades, as you know. And it was time that we just wanted fairness. This is not really equitable from our standpoint because it's just a small token by comparison to the damage that's been done over the years. But we had no other president that was willing to do this. I did it my first term with China and others. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs. No inflation, the most successful period of time that we've ever had financially in the country. The first term. I think this term is going to be much better, even much better than that. That was the best ever, and this is going to be, I think, substantially better. And we're on the way to doing that. We've already taken in over $100 billion worth of tariffs, and we haven't even started. And all I say to the other countries is, you know, some of them wanted to make a deal and want to be fair. Others perhaps got a little bit spoiled. They were a little bit spoiled because for 30, 40 years, 50 years, they were taking advantage of the country. So we're going to, I would say final, but if they call with a different offer and if I like it, we'll do it.
And the August 1 deadline, I mean, is the August 1 deadline firm now? Is that it?
I would say firm. No, I would say firm, but not 100% firm. If they call up and they say, would like to do something a different way, we're going to be open to that. But essentially, that's the way it is right now, yeah.
Mr. President, is your Palestinian relocation plan still on the table? Is there a plan? Has there been any progress in finding countries to accept?
Bibi, why don't I let you answer that question?
Mr. President,
Wait a minute. Wait, he's got to answer the question.
sorry.
I think President Trump had a brilliant vision. It's called free choice. You know, if people want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. It shouldn't be a prison. It should be an open place and give people a free choice. We're working with the United States very closely about finding countries that will seek to realize what they always say, that they want to give the Palestinians a better future. And those who, and I think we're getting close to finding several countries, and I think this will give, again, the freedom to choose. Palestinians should have it, and I hope that we can secure it close by.
And we've had great cooperation from surrounding Israel, surrounding countries, great cooperation from every single one of them. So something good will happen. Brian, did you have something?
Mr. President, you've mentioned before you want to go down as your legacy as the peacemaker. Are we in the last chapter of closing out peace amongst this conflict now and all the other ones that you're working on?
Well, I hope so. Look, we did a job with India and Pakistan and Serbia, Kosovo, and Rwanda and the Congo, and this was all over the last 3 weeks or so, Marco, right? We did, and others that were ready to fight, and we stopped a lot of fights. I think a very big one, frankly, a very, very big one was India and Pakistan, and we stopped that over trade. We're dealing with India and we're dealing with Pakistan, and we say we're not going to be dealing with you at all if you're going to fight. And they were maybe at a nuclear stage. They're both, nuclear powers. And I think stopping that was very important. We're trying to help out with a Biden-created monster, this whole thing that's happening with Russia and Ukraine. It's a horrible thing, and I'm not happy with President Putin at all. But this is something that would have never happened if I were president. This was a war that was never going to happen. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, how would you address your critics that in the election they said that you would cause the next World War III, when in fact you're solving all the problems?
I'm stopping wars. I'm stopping wars. And I hate to see people killed. Like, as an example, Ukraine and Russia, they're not Americans there being killed. They're not Israeli that are being killed. These are all Russians and all Ukrainians. And but it's 5,000, maybe 7,000 last week, 7,500 last week, mostly soldiers. But people in towns and cities that are getting hit, but mostly death is mostly soldiers. Now, so they don't come from here, but it's 7,000 last week souls. And if I can stop that, you know, they have parents and they have sisters and brothers and getting married and who knows, they're just people, but they're souls. And if I can stop a war, you know, because I have an ability to do so, I'm disappointed, frankly, that President Putin hasn't stopped. I'm not happy about it either.
Mr. President, on the Iran talks, can you say if you've scheduled the next round of Iran talks? And then also on strikes.
We have scheduled Iran talks, and they want to talk.
Yeah.
They took a big drubbing, I think, when we hit the three sites, really. I would say the three sites, not just the one. The one was a big one, and it was deep in granite, and it was obliterated. It turned out the Atomic Energy Commission said it is obliterated. I would just want to take our hats off to those incredible flyers, the people that flew that big machine, and frankly, the mechanics and everybody else. I mean, they had zero. They flew for 37 hours with zero problem mechanically. I mean, when you think in carrying the biggest bombs ever, the biggest bombs that we've ever dropped on anybody, when you think non-nuclear, and we want to keep it non-nuclear, by the way. But they did a phenomenal job. It was an amazing job, and I think that was, I was talking to Bibi about it before, that was the very beginning of the end. It ended very quickly after that. I don't want to say what it reminded me of, but if you go back a long time ago, it reminded people of a certain other event, and is Harry Truman's picture is now in the lobby, in a nice location in the lobby where it should have been, but that stopped a lot of fighting. And this stopped a lot of fighting. When that happened, it was a whole different ballgame.
On future Iran strikes, what can you say, what might make you have the desire to do another strike on Iran?
Another what?
Another strike on Iran?
I hope we're not going to have to do that. I can't imagine wanting to do that. I can't imagine them wanting to do it. They want to meet. They want to meet. They want to work something out.
Can you say
No,
when?
they're different. They're very different now than they were 2 weeks ago.
Is there a date yet, sir, for the Iran talks, or a city? Do you know when and where the next round of Iran talks will be?
Well, I can tell you. I'd rather not say, but you'll be reading about it tomorrow or seeing it tomorrow.
Mr. President, what is the holdup currently in a ceasefire with Hamas?
In which?
In the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, what's currently the holdup?
I don't think there is a holdup.
Well,
I don't think there's a holdup.
do you think that you're going to?
I think things are going. Along very well. They just, left each other, and it was not a pleasant period of a few days. It was a little longer than a few days, but this was not a pleasant period of time. And, we were, at the end, 14 missiles were shot, and every single missile was shot out of the air. It was pretty amazing. And that was sort of the end. And they told us they were coming and where they were and what time they were coming. And they said, if you'd like to have a different time, we'll do that. And that's respect when they do that. I appreciated that they did that. There was no surprise. We got the soldiers out of the base in Qatar, in this case. But they knew they were coming. 14 missiles were coming. 1 o'clock, they said, would you like to make it later? I said, no, let them come at 1 o'clock. And at 1 o'clock, everybody was, as you know, over 5,000 people left the base. And we had 3 gunners and 3 assistants. And out of the 14 that were shot, all 14 were knocked down. And that was the end. That was about it. And we had a rough time. But sometimes, sometimes you need the rough time in order to get. I think things are going to be really settled down a lot in the Middle East. And they respect us, and they respect Israel. They respect a lot of things that took place. Nobody's ever seen equipment like what we sent over to knock out those sites. But when those sites were knocked out, it essentially, that was the end.
Do you think that there can be a two-state solution that creates an independent?
I don't know. I'd ask Bibi that question. You have the greatest man in the world to answer that age-old question, two-state. Go ahead. You give him your honest answer.
I think Palestinians should have all the powers to govern themselves. but none of the powers should threaten us. And that means that certain powers, like overall security, will always remain in our hands. Now, that is a fact, and no one in Israel will agree to anything else because we don't commit suicide. We want life, we cherish life for ourselves, for our neighbors, and I think we can work out a peace between us and the entire Middle East with President Trump's leadership, and by working together, I think we can establish a very, very broad peace that will include all our neighbors.
Mr. President, question on Iran. You asserted that there's a complete and total destruction of their nuclear facilities. So what is the basis of the talks going forward? Is it to cap future nuclear activity? Is it ballistic missiles, terror support, economic-based opportunities? What are the...
It's really a good question, because if you remember when it was done, I sort of said, what's the purpose of talking? It's been knocked out completely. But they've requested a meeting, and I'm going to go to a meeting, and if we can put something down on paper, that will be fine. That'll be good. I think they've gained a lot of respect for us. I think they've gained a lot of respect for Israel also. But they would like to meet, and we're going to have a meeting. Steve, when is that meeting going to be? Do you want to say?
Rather, very quickly, in the next week or so.
So we'll see what happens. I think it would be nice to memorialize it, put it down, but because of the incredible result of that attack, if you want to call it an attack, I didn't think it was necessary to have it in writing. I think we spoke. I mean, that speaks much louder than writing. But I can also understand why they'd want it. And they've been very nice. They've been very respectful. And it began by them telling us about 14 they had to do. You know what 14 represents, right? Do you know what 14 represents, right?